Nirankari, Krutika ji. A very happy new year to you. How are you doing today?
Nirankari, Sudeep ji. Happy New Year. I am good, ji.
That didn't sound like a very happy new year. What's on your mind, ji?
Sudeep ji, last year I treated myself to an Apple computer system. Quite an expensive one. And by the end of the year...
The next version came out, didn't it?
Exactly. Not just any version. An upgraded and far superior one.
The tech world strikes again. But that is not why you are this reflective, right?
No, Sudeep ji. Although that is frustrating, what really gets me thinking is the bigger picture. Look around us. Technology is evolving so rapidly with amazing upgrades everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. My phone, my laptop, even my AI-powered dishwasher. Everything is so dedicated to doing exactly what I ask.
True. But then I ask myself, where is my dedication to upgrading my life? Year after year, my discipline doesn't seem to go beyond the first few pages of my annual diary.
Krutika ji, what a profound reflection. As a self-proclaimed disciple, I have to admit, my own discipline is...
a work in progress?
Exactly. And that's why in this January edition of Soul Vibes, me, Sudeep, and...
me, Krutika,
from Boston, we will talk about how dedication, discipline, and the true spirit of being a disciple can truly help us upgrade not just our gadgets, but our lives. Namaskar, Nirankari.
Sudeep ji, whether for spiritual pursuits or daily life, there is no doubt that every upgrade in a disciple's life has a story of dedication and discipline.
That's true. It reminds me of the connection between discipline and being a disciple. The word itself originates from the Latin discipulus, meaning learner or pupil. To be a disciple is to dedicate yourself to a path, not just with devotion, but with discipline and a willingness to learn.
Wow. So discipline, disciple, discipline, a wonderful connection. Being a disciple means embracing humility, but its connection with discipline shows how important it is to dedicate consistent efforts for a disciple.
Yes. And on that note, do you know where we are taking our listeners to while we talk about being a true disciple?
Yes, Ji. One of the symbols of dedication and discipline, the Great Dome at campus of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where we will be having our panel discussion.
Hanji, to chale chalo.
Einstein was so dedicated to science. Beethoven, he was so dedicated to music. Look at LeBron James, he was so dedicated to basketball. Dedication was big fun.
Samneet ji, that's a lot of dedication, ji.
Oh, you're here. Krutika ji, Sudeep ji.
Yes, ji. Nirankari ji, Samneet ji, Shivani ji, and Sneha ji.
Nirankari ji.
It is such a beautiful campus, full of dedicated students. It reminds me of our university days. Shivani ji, do you remember जब आप India से आए थे as students in Boston? It's been years now.
Anji.
And now you're working as a data scientist. Can you share your experience with our listeners today?
Yeah. I'm thinking where to start. मेरी journey तो roller coaster ride रही है जी. You know, back in India, we constantly have family and saints around who would guide us at every step कि क्या करना है और क्या नहीं. But moving to US, oof. It was like I was plugged out of my comfort zone.
So true.
I had to study to get good grades, do house chores, live with complete strangers. You know how it is. You don't have mom waking you up in case your alarm goes dead in the morning. And amongst all this, I was trying to keep myself motivated, dedicated and happy. It was chaotic and sometimes I did regret moving here. But pata hai, there was something that always kept me strong on my path. The virtue of dedication that I was seeing within people around me.
Can you share more, Ji?
Sure. At that time, Krutika ji, when we were students and did not have a car, even going to satsang looked difficult. But I saw the utmost dedication of saints. They would drive for hours just to pick us up for congregation. I could see so much effort went in, and the saints did it with a smile. And this was every week. And even in satsang, there were saints who were students just like me. They expressed gratitude towards smallest of things like food to eat, having time to study, a comfortable bed, and the ability to travel to satsang. I learned to be more appreciative.
रज़ा में राजी रहना, यही तो कला है गुरु सिखी की.
Hanji, it was like Nirankari's way of telling me to change my reactions to life situations. So I tried to adjust with my roommates, cooked quietly without creating disturbances, completed my assignments in time so that lights can be turned off for everyone to sleep comfortably. Learning from saints gave me so much strength to accept everything with zero hard feelings.
Very nice. But with all these adjustments, how did you handle the career goals?
Dedication towards my career helped me push forward professionally. But dedication towards attending satsang helped me remove the negatives. This turned all my chaos into peace. I still do have many goals to achieve that require perseverance. But wisdom of accepting everything will truly keep me going.
Thank you, Shivani ji. Making efforts is beautiful, but making efforts with the correct mindset embarks the journey of becoming a disciple.
Haan ji, Krutika ji. And look, we have Ashra ji joining us as well. Hello, Ashra ji. How has the start of the semester been?
Nirankari ji, my semester is already off to a busy start, but it's been good. Thanks so much for accommodating my schedule to have the discussion here on campus.
The pleasure is all ours. While you were very dedicated to talk to us, we tried to show some dedication to travel to you.
You know, even though life is busy, just being with you guys makes me feel at peace. You're all like my Bose-Einstein condensates among all this chaos.
What? Who are we? I know Bose, I know Einstein. What's a condensate?
Oh, Sneha ji, as we know, Ashra ji is studying physics here at MIT, researching quantum computing. But Ashra ji, help us understand, how are we like Bose-Einstein condensates?
Of course, Ji. Let me give you an example. Let's take an arbitrary system like this box of air we have in front of us right now. Though we may not see it, the individual molecules that make up this air are constantly colliding, bouncing off of each other. And even in a solid state of matter like this textbook I have in my hand, sound waves from our mouths are constantly hitting it and making the atoms inside the textbook vibrate too.
So hearing this, it looks like everything around us is so chaotic, even at the level of the smallest particle we have known. Wow, but we just don't realize it?
Exactly. God designed a world governed by fundamental laws that create constant motion and disorder. Yet, hidden within this chaos lies a remarkable state of perfect unity and harmony.
Acha ji.
In 1924, two scientists, Satendra Bose and Albert Einstein, came up with a theory for a special state of matter, not like a gas or a solid, but in this new state, they theorized that if atoms were cooled to temperatures close enough to absolute zero, they undergo a remarkable transformation and start behaving in unity, almost as if they were a single atom. Then, in 1995, my professors actually created this theoretical state in reality and observed how this state emerges not when individual atoms are alone, but rather when they come together under the right conditions. These are called Bose-Einstein condensates, and my research here is all about how we can harness these quantum states, G.
Oh, wow! So, in simpler terms, does that mean the atoms, when they come together in this way, are like a group of saints in deep harmony, each losing their individuality but creating something greater together?
Yes, and that's why you all are my Bose-Einstein condensates. Just as atoms in this state resonate in harmony, saints when they come together in congregation resonate with devotion.
Ashrit ji, you definitely seem to love the company of saints. But with such an intensive program, how do you find ways to get your spiritual resonance even though you can't go to satsang?
Honestly, I struggle when I don't have a physical connection to saints. So, when I can't get satsang, I try to create heuristics to naturally bake spirituality into my daily routine. For instance, when my family and I first visited MIT, we did Simran right under this very dome. Now, whenever I pass by the spot every day on the way to lab or class, I've always reminded of that vivid memory of doing Simran. So, by embedding memories of satsang and Simran into the places I pass by daily, it's almost like carrying a piece of home with me, and it helps me stay grounded and connected.
Wow, that's such a beautiful connection.
Thank you, Ji. My second tip is when you can't attend satsang, try to find a time to call a saint who did. My mother and I started this routine to call every Sunday to talk about her takeaways from congregation that week. In this way, her weekly summaries help me keep satsang at the back of my mind. I also try to congregate with saints at times that work better in my availability. Kind of like how you all did for me today. Now this dome is going to have an even greater significance for me.
Wow, Ashrinji, I'm sure your tips resonate deeply with disciples everywhere, especially students and those who find themselves physically distant from Sangat.
Also, I want to add a final tip. We have live Samagams telecasted, radio podcasts, and of course, our very own Soul Vibes.
Sure, Ji, seeing Ashrinji balance his academic and spiritual life, I wonder how much discipline shapes the life of a disciple.
Krutika ji, but discipline is such a restrictive word, isn't it? It makes me think of some boring but necessary task. For a disciple, dedication seems natural, but discipline seems like a bondage.
Oh yes, Shivani ji, that's so true. Samneet ji, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I have noticed how you lead such a disciplined life and are always smiling.
Krutika ji, I think it will be a slight overstatement saying I am fully disciplined, but I do enjoy reflecting on this topic. You know, discipline does often feel like a restriction, but I also see it as a choice, basically a way to channel our dedication. For example, I might be dedicated towards staying fit, but discipline is what guides me on how to eat well.
Samneet ji, I have noticed something, especially in the spiritual realm. Discipline often turns into a ritual. Sometimes it can limit one's perspective. Eventually, one becomes convinced that only what they have been practicing is right.
That's very interesting angle, Krutika ji. I'd like to share an example from my family. So, हमारे घर में बचपन से ही जब भी घर से बाहर जाते थे, तो ये एक small habit था कि चरणामृत लेने का. तो years after years it became a second nature to all of us. अब तो ऐसा होता था कि जब भी घर से बाहर जाने के लिए कोई भी घर की चाबी उठाता, तो हमारे हाथ स्वाभाविक रूप से ही चरणामृत की तरफ चले जाते. So this is so soothing for me now because it grounds me and connects me to Nirankar right at that moment. And अगर कभी मैं इसे भूल भी जाऊं, तो that's okay. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about constantly working towards who we actually are. And Satguru Mataji also emphasizes on this. How important it is to not make certain practices into superstitions.
Yes, that's so true.
And here's the interesting part, Krutika ji. Discipline, when practiced regularly with the right intention, actually brings freedom.
Oh, that's interesting. Can you elaborate how discipline brings freedom?
Yeah, there's a great concept by James Clear in his book Atomic Habits. He explains how small consistent changes lead to big transformations. Think about it in terms of eating healthy. It might feel limitation or bondage at first, but it actually gives you energy to chase your goals without fatigue. Reverend Raj Pitaji once mentioned in his Vichar that a true devotee must always refrain from gossiping at all times. I think it will be difficult at first, but wouldn't it be relieving to mind from all that unnecessary chatter? When your body is nourished and your mind is calm, isn't that true freedom, Krutika ji?
Yeah, it does sound like freedom, Samneet ji. We are indeed slaves to our impulses. You know, even in our brain, there are two dopamine circuits. Dr. Huberman, who is a renowned scientist, called them the go circuit and the no-go circuit. जैसे मैं जब पढ़ाई कर रही हूँ, it's a go action. लेकिन जब मैं पढ़ाई करते वक्त अपने फोन को avoid करती हूँ, that is a no-go action. So you know, every time I resist small or big temptations, I am actually strengthening my no-go circuit. And when this circuit becomes stronger, I can break free from the hold of my impulses. So in a way, disciplinary actions that seem to be restrictive are actually giving me freedom to focus on my real goals.
Oh yes, parallel to what Sadguru Baba Hardev Singh Ji Maharaj had said, इतनी आजादी दे मुझे कि मैं तेरी कैद में रह सकूं.
Bilkul ji. Discipline is the mark of a disciple. Without it, nothing lasting can be achieved. While Samnichi, thank you for sharing tips to make friends with discipline. Snehaji, do you want to share how you resonate with this aspect?
Sudeep, for me, I think the recognition of internal and external reality has been the key. And it's still something I'm actively working on. You know, a couple years ago, I was caught in the whirlwind of external things. Deadlines, goals, relationships. And I was forgetting that discipline in the material world needed to reflect my deeper commitment to Nirankari. I wasn't asking myself the right questions anymore. Is this action aligned with Satguru's teachings? When things get challenging, am I taking the next step, the next right thing in awareness of Nirankari? I realized I had become too attached to the results rather than on the journey itself.
So true. At times, we forget the core and the motive behind all that we do.
Exactly, and honestly, this is where my real work began. I had to return to my practices with a renewed sense of discipline. Whether I was working or engaging with people in my day-to-day life, I needed to approach everything with the mindset of devotion. I realized that discipline in both our spiritual and material life is about steady, continuous efforts with love. I began to view every task, no matter how mundane, in awareness of Nirankari, and approached it with the right attitude, dedicated and free from attachment to the outcome.
Did that realization change your holistic view of spiritual discipline?
It certainly has. Spiritual discipline now for me is not just about seva, satsang, and simran, but applying the principles of detachment and mindfulness in my material life. To do constant checks and balances at work or out socially. Like, am I acting with humility and love or negatively? For instance, I'm a product manager, and whenever I work on a project, I remind myself that my effort is important, but the results are in Nirankari's hands. This helps me stay focused in the present moment, where my dedication and discipline can truly shine. It also helps me stay grounded. When I'm not attached to the fruits of my labor, I can more easily align with Nirankari's flow in both my internal and external world.
Thank you, Snehaji, for sharing the internalization of imbibing virtues towards being a disciple. Thank you, everyone, for your time. This was very insightful.
Oh, and before we leave, Happy New Year, Ji!
Happy New Year!
Wow, Krutika ji, now that sounded like a Happy New Year.
Exactly. Guru Sikh Nojar, Guru Sikh Milda, Vek ke chachar jaan dene. So Sudeep ji, D for dedication, D for discipline, D for disciple. How about D for drama?
I know what you are hinting at, Krutika ji. So listeners, stay tuned as we present you an engaging skit.
For the first time on Soul Vibes, to make this new year a little more happy.
Okay, decided. It's the 13th day of sticking to my schedule. I feel so gritty. It feels great being disciplined about my time. Wake up time, 6 a.m. No. 5 a.m. is the time. Legends wake up. मैं तो 5 बजे ही उठूंगी. My routine is set now. Lunch time. Phone देख लेती हूँ. Oh, I miss Lavjot ji's call. Let me call him back.
ਹੋਰ ਸ਼ਿਖਾ ਦੀਦੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੀ?
Hello Lavjot ji. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
ਬਸ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੀ ਵਧੀਆ. I really needed some help with my immunology course. Do you have time today by any chance? I have an exam tomorrow.
Okay. Can I get back to you on this?
ਚਲੋ ਚੰਗਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ.
Why didn't Lavjot ji check with me on this before? I could have really planned for it. Now my calendar will get messed up. What should I do? Oh God, so much confusion. There's this seva that I can do, but I haven't planned for it, and it is time consuming. I remember my PhD advisor was so disciplined, big on calendars. I wonder how he managed his schedules. I also want to work on my timetable. I also want to get things done. But for me, any task outside of my planning brings me so much anxiety. Tuhi Nirankar. Okay, let me pen it down. Lavjot ji's exam, my meetings, meal prep time. Maybe I can make some adjustments to the schedule. I'll have him come over so that the travel time gets reduced, solve his queries in a couple hours, and cover my planned hours for today in the next 2 days. Doesn't Sadhguru Mataji teach us that flexibility and being adaptable are some ways to lead a peaceful life? I will just call Lavjotji to let him know that I can help. Lavjotji, how was your day?
It's been good, busy. मेरा genetic the lecture सीगा, ते फिर काम ते गया, and then after that I called you to get help for my exam.
Oh, taking up so many things. You really must be tight on schedules.
Oh yes. Doing schoolwork, then working as a medical assistant, and also involved in research. All of it, which I love and enjoy most of the time. It needs planning. I try to have a schedule with some flexible hours just in case someone needs me or something comes up, like today, an impromptu exam.
You know, I'm also realizing flexibility gives strength to a disciplined life, like yours.
Hanji, for sure. But Shikra Didi, I feel it's more than just flexibility. For a student or even for a disciple, when we look at it from a spiritual perspective, I feel humility is the greatest strength of every dedication and discipline. As I'm always in the company of saints and my career mentors who are so humble and grounded, I'm able to learn how to make adjustments and be flexible. It's important to have the virtue of staying grounded as it helps me let go of my ego while asking questions, accepting abrupt changes in my schedule, and allowing me to be disciplined.
Humility indeed is the key here. It helps us dedicate this life to real purpose and remain closer to Nirankar.
Sahi galla Didi.
Thank you, Lavjotji, for these words of wisdom. I learned from you today. Hat karval, dil yarval.
So, Sudeep ji, applying efforts in the right direction with utmost humility in our hearts is such a beautiful way to upgrade life. And even if I failed to uphold it yesterday, last week, last month, or last year, today can still be my first day of becoming a better disciple.
Exactly, Krutika ji. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. Let's end the podcast and start our journey towards being a true disciple by Navdad Barney paragraph.
The hallmark of the disciples of the true master is that they carry out the word of the true master. Cheerfully, they submit unto his will and never avoid his command. The disciples of the true master have got the one and they are taking care to maintain it. They are the same from within and without, and they burn duality from inside. They keep a watch on their word and live up to what they say. Avatar says they mold their lives in the role of the true master's wisdom. Avatar says they mold their lives in the role of the true master's wisdom.